Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Radiant Central, and I'm your host Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So, in spirit of the new year, it's beginning of January, and at this time I know a lot of people are making New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions, New Year's determinations to let go of addictions, to let go of bad habits. And today I'd like to share actually a tip that has been very effective with me and also with a lot of my coaching clients with letting go of addictions, whether it's an addiction to smoking or an addiction to alcohol or addiction to the internet or addiction to overspending or binge eating or things like that. I found this really works great, especially with maintaining not doing these things, not giving into the craving, not giving into temptation. And I think for most people that have any kind of addiction or bad habit is that a lot of times they're very well versed into why it's not good for them. Okay, so for example, I used to be a smoker, and I knew the statistics. I knew all the information as to why and how smoking is bad for you. I knew it all, but that was not something that would actually motivate me or keep me a non-smoker. I needed something else to keep me going, to really keep me away from giving into the craving, to keep me away from the addiction itself. And the one thing that always helped me was actually finding something that emotionally or mentally would leave such a bad taste in my mouth about the addiction that I wouldn't want to go there. Something that would actually sort of touch my pride or my ego. And that one thing is sort of looking over my addiction, I would ask myself, what's the one thing I hated about myself or despised about myself in connection to that addiction? What was it that I did while I was addicted to that substance that I don't like that side of myself? And I found by looking into that and honing in on it and reminding myself of that person I once was really helped me whenever I had a craving. So, for example, with myself, with quitting smoking, when I quit, I would think about the times when I was a smoker. The one thing that I didn't like about myself in relation to the addiction was that I found that I was a very impatient person when I was a smoker. I couldn't just sit down and have a good time. I hated being around non-smokers. I hated being in situations where I couldn't smoke. And if I was in those situations, I can never really be in the present moment. I couldn't just sit back and relax and have a good time. My mind would be somewhere else. I'd be moody. I would be on edge. And I would just be thinking, like looking at the clock, wondering when I can go so I can go and have a cigarette. So I remember that edgy side of myself, and I've always hated that side of myself. And just the thought of becoming that again has always kept me away from smoking. And that's something even today, like after all this time of not smoking, whenever I do have a craving, which sometimes does come up, even after years of being away from an addiction, it can still come up. And I find once I just think back to that one thing I really hated about myself, or that would come out when I'd be addicted to that substance, that it would really keep me away from going back to that, because I didn't want to become that person. It wasn't about being a smoker or not, it was the person I became who was addicted to it that I didn't like. And that is something that has always empowered me and motivated me to not be addicted to things that make my life bad. So I can give other examples of other addictions, like let's say someone is addicted to the internet. It's just thinking about yourself and that addiction to the internet and how it would take up so much of your time. I know for a lot of people that give up the addiction to the internet, the most motivating and the strongest motivating factor of giving up being addicted to the internet is getting your life back, not being chained to the computer, not being isolated, not being inside all day, not seeing years go by where you're just inside in front of a computer screen and not connecting with people, not having a social life, and not living your life. And for a lot of people, when they think about those times where they're addicted to a computer and the internet, and what it was doing to their social life and just their moods and all that, that's what would keep them away from going back into that. Same thing with someone who binge eats. I've worked with a lot of clients with eating disorders, especially with binge eating. And, the main thing that many of them say that keeps them from going back to binge eating is just those times when they were full on into their binge, and how they wouldn't go to social engagements. They would isolate themselves because A, they didn't want people to see them after a binge, and B, they felt so sick that they didn't feel good going out, and that a lot of people would look back over years where they couldn't, they had no life and they didn't want to go out, and they were missing out on so many things that they wanted to do but they couldn't do because of a binge eating disorder. So sometimes it's about sort of holding on to those things, hold on to those memories, that sometimes at our worst, because at our worst can empower us in the present moment to become a better person and to fulfill our dreams and to fulfill our goals, and to now be able to let go of that ball and chain and be able to live our lives to the fullest potential. So a lot of times when we hit our lowest, that's actually something that can really empower and move us forward, as long as you seize it and use it in a constructive way. So if you're trying to let go of an addiction or a bad habit, think about your lowest time with that. Think about that side of yourself that you don't like when you're in the throes of that addiction, and use that to propel yourself forward. All right, so I am wishing you guys a fabulous day. And also too, if anyone is interested in coaching, that's what I do, is I work with people coaching them, and not only with diet and nutrition and weight loss or things like that, but also I do lifestyle coaching as well. So if there's other goals or things that you want to work on and you need some accountability or someone to talk to sort of organize things and get things going, that's what I do, is coaching. So you can go to my website at radiantcentral.com, click on coaching, and there's more information on that. All right, so have a fabulous day, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.